healthy new year.
Huge Thanksgiving meal can be tough, right? You got a full belly, you want to watch football, you want to nap, but you got to clean up the kitchen so people don't get sick. Marcus Officer is talking with some folks at North Kansas City Hospital. Marcus?
Okay, the food's underway. I know it smells good. I hope it does anyway. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Lindsey, we've led all the way up to the moment where, sadly, we have to put the food away at some point. The safe, smart way to do it, what are some things folks should use as they start to wrap up their Thanksgiving meals, whether it's at lunch or whether it's later on tonight?
Well, I know after your meal, you're tired, but you need to get that food put away within 2 hours. After 2 hours, it really would be unsafe to eat, and you would want to throw those away. Get those packaged up, get them put in the refrigerator.
The cleanup process, too. We talked about kind of preparing before, you prep your food, but after the teardown and like that, how do you make sure that everything isn't kind of scattered on, utensils and on the walls and things like that?
So you want to do a good wipe down, countertops especially, your sink as well. Clean up those dishes, those cutting boards, anything that you use to prepare with raw meat.
You mentioned that the sponge is very, very dirty, but also if you're touching something and then touch something else, so like cookbooks and things like that, what are some other tools folks can have to try to minimize the spread of either raw meat particles or things like that?
Absolutely. So if you're using a cookbook, you want to make sure that you're not handling and turning those pages with your finger that just handled that raw meat. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're opening the oven door when you still have those contaminated hands, you may want to do a wipe down of that oven handle.
You got to clean up and clean up after yourselves, guys. I know you got a lot going on. We appreciate you watching this morning. But we also hope you stay healthy throughout the Thanksgiving, so Black Friday, you can get out there and start shopping. Lindsey, thank you so very much. We'll send it back to you.
Sir, talk with a nurse at North Kansas City Hospital. Marcus?
Happy Turkey Day. We got football here in a little bit, but we also have cooking. If you haven't started prepping already, you're risking it. But actually, there was something that we wanted to discuss with Lindsey McNerney. We've talked to you a couple times this morning really about trying to make sure no one gets sick during Thanksgiving. We talked about kind of keeping your sinking areas clean. We talked also about preparing the food. The other thing, you got to eat it, right? What are some things folks need to know about not spreading germs at Thanksgiving with so many folks kind of diving into the same bowls and dishes?
So a couple of things. First of all, I think, remind everybody before you go through that food line, wash your hands or have some hand sanitizer sitting there where everybody can do a little cleansing before everybody goes through the food line. Then second of all, have utensils. You don't want everybody in there digging in with their fingers and hands. So have those utensils ready to pick up the food with the proper utensils.
Throughout the course of kind of the holiday season, is it more common to see folks getting sick just because of the proximity or how close you are to so many people, or am I off there?
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, we typically see a spike in some of the illnesses that we see after the holidays. You're in close quarters, you're sharing a lot of those germs.
And then also other little tidbits for folks that need to know. You said to wash their hands. What are the keys, though? Because some folks say your ABCs twice. What's the key to washing your hands?
Exactly. So it's recommended that you do it for at least 20 seconds, and that's really a long time to actually wash your hands. Use that soap and water, scrub all surfaces of your hands, and make sure you get them dried completely.
Do not get sick this Thanksgiving. We're trying to help you. We know you have a lot to do, a lot to think about. We're trying our best here because we don't want to get sick either. But I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. In fact, I think we have one more segment with Lindsey over here, and we hope to get to eat. Is there food around here?
It's important you don't share your germs.
Yeah, we are in the midst of cold and flu season, and being at close proximity with so many other people increase, of course, your chances of getting sick. Let's get out to Fox 4's Marcus Officer. He spoke with a health expert to explain what you can do to limit the spread.
Okay, it's Thanksgiving. We know it. We're trying to help you out here because we covered at least the cleanliness part, but actually that's the food handling part that a lot of folks are going to be doing throughout the course of the day, even over the next couple days. #leftovers. Lindsey McNerney, you're here with us, North Kansas City Hospital. You know a thing or two about infectious nastiness that goes around the food handling portion of it. What are some key tips folks should know before they start really getting into the nitty-gritty of making their Thanksgiving meal?
So one thing you want to think about is when you're thawing out your turkey, perhaps whatever meat that you're going to be serving, you don't want to let it sit out on the countertop. You actually want to do it either within the refrigerator or within a sink full of water.
Interesting. And then the other aspects too, when it comes to preparing the vegetables and trying to keep them away from the meat, what are some things folks should know about that process as well?
You definitely want to have two different cutting boards. When you're preparing your meat, you want to make sure that you don't have like a porous cutting board for your meat, something that can be cleaned and disinfected properly, and then have a separate cutting board for things like vegetables, fruits, so you're not cross-contaminating.
How surprised would people be if they knew how many germs are spread just on the handling part alone of the food prep?
I think they would be very surprised. I think, sometimes what we can't see is what's dangerous. So there's a lot of germs, especially raw meat, things like salmonella. So you just have to take all precautions.
Well, if you didn't have enough to think about on your Thanksgiving morning, we gave you something else too, but this is for the benefit of everybody, so you don't have to go to the hospital or the doctor because you're a little bit sick. In fact, there's more information we need to break down coming up at 6 o'clock as well. Lindsey, thank you very much. We'll check back in with you guys in just a little bit.
All right. So much that goes into making a meal, as you know. It can be easy to forget a few important tips, right?
Yeah, so let's get out to Fox 4's Marcus Officer. He has met with an infection prevention nurse at North Kansas City Hospital. So he has a few tips for us to help us from getting sick this holiday season.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We know you have a very busy day ahead of you. A lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning, a lot of people, but a lot to cover. Lindsey McNerney, we're at North Kansas City Hospital. There's germs amongst us, especially we have so many people and so many different items. For someone that's preparing their Thanksgiving meal, what's something they should think about that they typically wouldn't or might want to take into consideration this year given some of the stuff that's going around?
So I would say, the sink is always a place that's very contaminated, has a lot of germs. So just remember that, you want to clean your sink out. You don't have to wash your meat. You don't need to rinse any of your turkey, your chicken, things like that. And then whatever you're doing in your sink, make sure that you clean it afterwards, disinfect it, some type of a household solution. You can even use like a diluted bleach to clean that out.
What would be an item that's common around the sink that people wouldn't think is just absolutely filthy?
So sponges. People actually think that, their sponge they're using to clean their items, but sponges hold a lot of bacteria. So you either want to use some type of a dish rag that you can launder frequently, or if you have a plastic type sponge, run that through your dishwasher as well.
All right, so that's phase one is the sink, but we also have cutting boards. You have other items that we're going to have to break down, and in fact, we're going to do that coming up at 5 o'clock. Lindsey, thank you very much. We'll check back in with you for some more Thanksgiving tips, so don't cook just yet because we got some info to give you.